Hey, everybody, welcome to another exciting episode of the Fat to Fit podcast. We've been on a 2 week hiatus, so we're glad to be back now. I'm your host, Jay Scott, aka Ned Stark's Ghost for now, until the rebranding, which is coming later this year, I promise. Joining me as always from our command center in the upstate, Jared the Man Shapiro. How you doing, Jared?
Man, it has been a long couple weeks.
How's it now?
It has, man, and I've gotten the studio painted along with the rest of the house. I had some visitors in town, so the
Hmm.
last week's been a bit crazy. And the one thing I hate about crazy is it knocks off all my progress. So I think that was a good decision for us to talk about goal setting here. Now that
So,
things are getting
excuse
back
my
on track.
amateur move of me adjusting my camera while we're talking.
It's okay. I think we both have new setups going on.
Yeah, I have a so I have a completely new setup in my living room slash where I work slash prison in the COVID era, and like the angles are really weird for me. And I've got a corner directly behind me, but I haven't rehung anything, so I've got to rehang everything, and I've been too busy. And but I don't make that an excuse for not getting things done. Now I'm seeing myself on the live feed. I moved the camera the opposite way. Hang on.
Oh, no, don't go back. I've got to readjust your video.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, okay. I'm not. However it looks now, folks, is how it
There.
looks. But yes, adjusting to a new setup, adjusting to God, I hate to say this again. Adjusting to a new norm. A few weeks ago, my job sent us back home working full time, and I don't mind sharing with the audience that that's a rough adjustment for me. I'm not really a social creature, but I don't do well when I'm stuck inside the house all day long. And last year nearly killed me, so I'm not really excited about the months to come. People, please stop getting sick. Thank you.
Yeah, it's strange times, man. I've just the last couple weeks I've known a couple people test positive for the thing that's going around that we all know. But hey, we're still here. We're
We're
still
still here.
working
I
on our
mean,
fitness.
exactly, and that's where I'm at, man. Like the so I guess we can just jump right into the meat of this. Like last year sucked. This year ain't much better. Um,
No,
although
it's
this,
not.
no,
Not at all.
although to be fair, this year, I mean, like I've managed to, go to the movies and stuff, which I couldn't do last year. I'm going to the gym, which is great because my gym was closed most last year, so I'm very thankful. I'm not going to complain one bit. But what I have kind of forced myself to do, and one of the reasons why I want to talk about goal setting today, is last year I went a solid. I want to say my gym was completely shut down for about 4 months, and so I went about 4 months with just doing like walking around the park and doing a little DDP yoga, and and nothing wrong with that. But as we discussed on the show before, that's just not my thing. Like I need to be lifting weights, I need to be competing, I need to be moving some earth around, and I wasn't able to do that. And not only did it put me in a really bad place mentally, but physically, it really brought me down to a low point. And this year, where I've been able to go to the gym consistently and get all my groceries and everything, there's been no BS. Like I'm hitting numbers like I'm far exceeding my expectations, which tells me one, I probably didn't plan my goals out accurately enough. But then on the dark side of that, I think, man, how much further along could I be if last year hadn't happened the way it did? And we can't get lost in what ifs, but it's hard to ignore the what ifs when you're actually making a lot of progress all of a sudden.
Yeah, the gym is all shut down right as I was finishing my DDP yoga certification, so that kind of squashed getting larger classes together.
Oh God, I forgot about that.
Yeah, yes, that was perfect time. It's like, hey, I completed my certification. Gym's closed. Great. So I've been trying to shift things around and set up a virtual option. Hence my studio looking a little better, and as you can see, my yoga mats all over the place back there.
But
Um,
that's the good thing about DDPY though, is like I mean, all you really need is a video feed to be able to work with somebody, because
yeah,
the
definitely.
equipment is minimal. But yeah, man, like it's just I don't know, I don't want to rant, I guess, for 45 minutes, but it's just been weird this summer, man. It's been really weird. Like last year sucked, but at least you knew why. This year, I think we'll look back on 2021 and say that the uncertainty ruined everything. Because last year was certain doom.
Yeah.
Like, last year was the collapse of society, and then the election and the riots, and it just it was Frank Miller scripted 2020. But in 2021, I mean,
I
there is
think
some hope.
Zack Snyder is scripting 2021 at this point.
Exactly.
I'm just waiting for the giant, the Doom planet to show up or something.
Yeah, it's a weird time. Maybe in 2022 will be a James Gunn year.
What happened to the aliens?
But I saw on Reddit somebody killed a murder hornet in their house the other day, and I was like, I forgot about the murder hornets from last year.
We're striking back. Yes.
But it's just, I don't know, it's just a weird time. So, like I can say that my approach to goal setting changed dramatically when I started reading DDP's books and doing the DDP yoga thing, getting inside that community just a little bit. Like, I mean, I'm not into it like you are, but just seeing the outside edges of it, so to speak, kind of changed my approach to goal setting, because I think where people have fall short, and I know where I've fallen short in the past, is making emotional goals, not intellectual goals. And so once I learned to do that, I think that I was on a better path. But honestly, the train wreck of a year that was last year really taught me that I wasn't nearly as resilient as I thought I was. And that's a big, admission for me to make, because I fancy myself a pretty resilient fellow. And last year brought me down to my knees. And this year I'm learning how to get past a lot of those things, because I have concrete goals and a plan for those goals in place. And that's what we'll talk about today, is setting those goals that you actually can meet, not just pie in the sky wishful thinking.
That's right, because the pie in the sky, I mean, it's delicious, but you'll never get to it. But before we do that...
that's pretty harsh.
But before we do that, I think we need to disclaim some of our advice before giving it. It's your favorite part. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's your favorite part, but the Fat to Fit podcast is a podcast about getting less fat and getting more fit, where Jared and I discuss our personal journeys in the world of fitness. We encourage you to join us in the community. Join us in the chat, ask questions, give comments, give feedback, give us thumbs up. But we don't want you to confuse our opinions and our thoughts for medical advice. Nothing we say on this show is intended to treat, diagnose, or cure a disease. We encourage you to seek out a medical professional in your area and follow the advice of a licensed medical professional in all matters pertaining to health. And if you have trouble finding someone accredited in your area, you just don't know where to start, reach out to us. We'd be glad to point you in the right direction. That being said, this podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and nothing should be construed as anything other than that. Now, without further ado, Fat to Fit podcast, episode 14, future planning. Horrible title from Jared.
I couldn't really think of what else to call it, because that's what we're doing. It's our future planning.
I'm just messing with you. Future planning. So, Jared, let's start it off. Like, I wanted to call you out on the carpet for two things. One, you still haven't done your push-ups.
This is true, because I can barely do push-ups right now.
I don't care. And number two, we took a hiatus of 2 weeks. So, okay, you know me better than just about anybody. We've spent tens of thousands of hours together at this point.
Unfortunately.
So I knew your in-laws were coming to town, and your mom came up too, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know why anybody would sign up for that, but you did. And it's like, as cool as your mom is and your in-laws are awesome, I can't imagine having all that in my house at one time. I'm not strong enough. So more power to you.
It definitely tuckered out the dogs.
But I was going to give you grief about us missing the show, because, like me, I'm always kind of gruff, and I'm like, oh man, that's BS. That's an excuse. And that's historically the kind of person I've been, as you well know. But honestly, dude, after last year, my thought was like, hey man, I'm glad everyone's alive. Enjoy your time.
Yeah, exactly.
Because your mom had COVID, and that was touchy for a while.
One of the first people in the county, which, that was terrifying.
Yeah. And obviously, before COVID, your stepdad passed away. So, you guys have been through a lot. And so, like, I was just, in my mind, I was like, I'm just going to send Jerry just hate-filled messages. like about how lazy he is that we're not doing the podcast. And I'm like, you know what, man, let him enjoy his time with mom. He
I
deserves
honestly
it.
probably would have just ignored them like most texts that came through those few days. But yeah, it was kind of fun trying to sneak in workouts. One of the nice things about working out from home, besides being safe during a pandemic, is when you go, hey, I got 2 hours before I have to be somewhere. I have time to work out and get a shower. Let's do it. And yeah, I didn't get to work out every day like I usually do, but I squeezed in about every other day. I got something done, even if it was just 30 minutes of stretching.
Yeah, and I know because on the app, every time you check in, it tells me, hey, your friend Jared did this. So like, I always enjoy giving people grief, but I was glad to see that you were keeping up with your workouts because, life does happen, and I certainly don't want to sound like a charity case, but like I don't have people to visit me, and I don't have
Oh,
anyone to go visit. So for me, to say, well, going to the gym is the most important part of my day. I mean, some weeks the only people I ever talk to in real life are at the gym. Because you live so far away now, and I'm not on the road wrestling or anything right now, and there's not a lot of social events. So like right now, being on quasi lockdown again, going to the gym is both my workout time and my, social time, seeing the guys all the time, every day in the gym. So like it's a different dynamic, I guess, once you're a family man like yourself versus being a man about town like myself.
yes, you man person. Try
So
to keep it family friendly.
with keeping up with your workouts while your family was in town, kind of what I want to hit on is the idea of kind of manifesting your goals. So I guess the first thing we need to talk about is at the stage you're in right now. What, like, we talk about smart goals, like specifically, what are like your long term goals, like your 6 to 12 to 18 months? What are you looking to accomplish?
Well, I think right now I'm sticking with 6 months just because of everything being so uncertain right now. um,
Smart,
because my
pun
12 months
intended.
got completely thrown out of whack with
Yeah.
COVID last year. But right now I'm looking at 6 months, and there is a jujitsu competition coming up. And one of the things that I wanted to do before I left New York unexpectedly a few years ago, when I was still training regularly, was I wanted to compete in the what was it, the Big Apple Jiu-Jitsu Tournament. And I forgot the name of it, but it was about 6 months out, and that was my plan. I was going to work out more, hit more classes, and compete, and try not to get my arms broken off. And life kind of threw a wrench in that, and then I took 4 years off the mat. Now I'm back. My jiu-jitsu knowledge is coming back. I'm about
The muscle memory is coming
the
back
muscle
now.
memory's coming back. Like I'll be rolling, I'll be like, oh yeah, I can do this neat thing, and I'll suddenly take someone's back, and they're like, what just happened? It's great. So as that's coming back, I'm thinking, maybe it's time to do that tournament I never got to do before. So there's a big which one was it? Naga? No.
Yeah, I was gonna ask
One
you
of
if
them.
it was Naga. Yeah,
Been a long day.
yeah.
Yeah, one of the big tournaments is coming to Greenville in February.
Is
And
that my same weekend?
it's your same weekend. Can you believe it?
Okay, we gotta pause. So, my big news. I'll tell. Oh, you tell your news. I'll tell my news.
Well, anyways, that was my plan, is train a few more days a week, hit the tournament, and again, try not to have my arms ripped off. If I win, even better. But what's your big news? You seem excited all
How
of a sudden.
why were you holding out on telling me this? Why
Because
are
I
you
wanted to
not as
surprise you on the show.
why are you not as excited as I am?
I
I'm
am. I just
beaming.
hide it a little bit.
I'm beaming.
I'm being professional here in my Pokemon shirt.
So I'm not being professional because I'm not getting paid to be here. So February 19th, God will, whatever God's listening. At
We're
this
looking
point,
at you, Vishnu.
whoever's up there, please let things progress in society. February 19th, the Tough Expo in Greenville, South Carolina, looks to be a very big expo at the I think it's the Greenville Area Convention Center. I could be wrong about that. But all the info is at tuffexpo.com. So just I'll interject real quick. Why I'm excited is I was training for a competition in September. I think I mentioned it on the show before. It was going to be a strongman contest in North Carolina. Unfortunately, it got canceled, which I hate. But the promoter was really cool about it when I talked to him, and I was kind of bummed out because I was really, I've already got a few weeks of training in. I was really excited for it. I thought I'd do well, but when I went to look for other shows to do, hoping to find something around the same time, there wasn't anything. So as I just was looking, out, they had just like that same day had just announced South Carolina's Strongest Man at the Tough Expo in February, and I was like, this is perfect. The last time they had this event, it was the last show I trained for, and I got hurt and I couldn't compete. They haven't had the show since then, so it's serendipity to me. And the first person I reached out was you, and I was like, man, like this is right by your house. Like, take the day off. You're going to be my guy. And now you're going to be
quote
competing.
was, "I need you to carry my bags."
And
well,
hold
sir,
my stuff.
I need you to carry my bags.
Yeah, when they part of our team is a friend of the show, Jared Fritz, who is gonna be my second up there. Unless I can convince him to compete in the CrossFit tournament, which I'm trying to do. So our circle of friends will be well represented that weekend. It's going to be great. I'm very excited about it.
Look for a special episode afterwards.
Have you already like entered and everything and signed up?
Not yet. The when I looked 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, whenever it was, because now these are all rolling together.
Yeah.
Whenever I looked, it was they were showing the September tournament still is the one to register for, and well, that's not what I'm registering for. So
yeah,
I'm just going to check again in a month or so, I guess.
Well, I mean, February's still a ways away. You got a lot of time.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I got work to do. Trust me.
I went ahead and registered for the contest because the promoter, I saw his name on Facebook, so I friended him on Facebook, and we actually have some mutuals. So I went ahead and signed up and opened up a line of communication with him. Really cool guy, and looks like it's going to be an awesome contest as part of really like. I don't think we've ever had an event like this in South Carolina before. It's going to be a unique event. It's a big fitness weekend, wrestling, strongman, strong woman, powerlifting, kung fu, like everything is going to be happening this weekend. And I'm looking really forward to winning my contest and exerting my dominance on the field, and then watching you maybe get a participation trophy or something like that.
Hey, the people that don't do it don't get the participation trophy. So that's
one step up.
One step up.
Because that's what I was going to say. I'm sure at some point we'll talk about like contest conditioning. But that's really the thing. So SMART goals. So your specific goal is to make it to this contest and compete. And I have a saying when it comes to like real athletic competitions, just showing up is a victory. Because if it was easy, everybody would be doing it, but it's not. So just showing up is a victory. So the S meaning specific and SMART goal. Well, specific goal for us to be ready for our competition in February. That's the long view of it, and a lot of things fall under that. But that's the overarching thing is get ready for the contest in February.
Yep. Yeah, that's. I mean, there's a lot of people that in the same boat I'm in, where they'll just be like, I don't want to compete because I'm a hobbyist. I don't, it's not what I want to do. But just showing up, that's a victory.
So now, a few weeks ago, I was really getting on you about competing, and you're like, no, those days are behind me. What was it just a moment when you had just a spark on the mat where you remembered something, and then you're like, you know what, I'm gonna go compete? Was that it, or what was it?
Yeah, I figured there's not going to be a lot of competitions in my future, but I figure we'll start with one, see what happens.
Man, it's weird how our motivations are parallel because. Like going into this year after last year, I thought for certain I was like, I'm not going to do strongman again. I'm not strong enough. I'm not, the year it's passed me by. And training this year, I'm like, dude, I think I might be in my prime now. Like I think maybe I wasn't in my prime when I was younger. I think that I was just too beat up from wrestling. Like I was definitely strong and I was definitely well conditioned, but I think there's a whole other level of energy you can draw from when you're not getting beat up 3 nights a week. So
yeah, you're probably your body's holding up a lot better, I'm sure.
Yeah, and so the M in SMART goal is measurable. Now, this might be a little easier for me because I'm working with poundages and strongman, but like just to give a peek behind the curtain, um, two of the events in the contest in my division. One is going to be a one arm dumbbell press, and it's going to be a 140-pound dumbbell for reps, and the deadlift is going to be uh, 555 pounds for reps. And I can already pull that much deadlifting. And on the dumbbell, I pushed 110 or 115 the other night, super easy. So when I'm looking at like that's what I mentioned at the beginning of the show, like I'm already hitting my numbers. Like I wasn't planning on getting above 500 of my deadlifts till probably October or November. But I passed 500 last week, or I'm sorry, last night, like it was butter. And so I'm like, well, I'm way ahead of where I plan to be. And when I think about where I am strength wise now, compared to how I program myself, I really undervalued where I was and what I could do. I was not giving myself enough credit. So now I'm actually tonight my plan is to kind of reevaluate what my roadmap is to that contest, because I think that I wasn't I wasn't really in tune with what I could do. And I was really shortchanging myself. So are there any measurables in jujitsu that would be comparable to that? Or is it more of just how you feel and just hope for the best? Like,
I think for me, it's gonna be more how I feel. Um, I mean, there's always the just looking at how many times I tapped people out in class when doing open rolls and things like that. But I don't know if that's measurable just for me because, I mean, some of the people in my class are compete every time there's a tournament. Um, some of them don't compete at all. So it's more measurable on my opponents in a way than myself. So I don't know. I'm not really sure. I think the measurable is just the final outcome of the tournament itself.
okay.
How many arms do I take home?
Oh, this guy. All right. So now, smart goal A, achievable or attainable. Um, and I think that when you're trying to determine whether or not your goal is actually achievable, that's where you have to take the rose-colored glasses off, because, like, I could say that my goal is to be ready for this competition and place on the top two. That's what I'm trying to do, and I measure that by tracking my progress between now and the contest and making sure that I'm able to handle the contest weights at a decent rep range or decent time or whatever. Is that plausible? And there's really no way, I think, for you to determine whether or not your goal is achievable until you're kind of underway. Like, like you can't honestly evaluate yourself if you're not doing the thing or doing something similar.
Yeah.
So you have to be doing the work, and it's almost like you have to evaluate yourself in real time. What I found that works for me is I don't ever criticize myself. We talk about on the show, we never compare ourselves to other people. We only compare ourselves to ourselves. So I never criticize myself or get down on myself in the moment, but I always set aside a time each week where I'm like, I need to look back at what I did last week. What do I plan to do next week, and how does this fit within the framework of what I'm trying to achieve?
Right.
And I can say now, like with the way my contest prep has been going, I feel it's very, very possible for me to place in the top two of this show. But the thing is, with a competition, you never know who's going to show up.
Yeah.
there
Very true.
there could be a baby Mark Henry, or there could be a Eddie Hall who's just never competed before, who shows up, blows me out of the water. So when you're making these goals, you have to keep in mind. Let's say you got to take the rose-colored glasses off. Like I can say, well, I'm competing in a novice category, and I'm probably going to go and have a very good showing for myself. That I can control. I can't control my placing. I can only control what I do. So all you can do is your best, and then just hope it's good enough, and hope that you know you don't see some guy looking like the mountain walking around with a novice shirt on. So you're going head to head with him.
Well, I think this is the pie in the sky idea as well. If you go in thinking my goal is to win this tournament. While that's, what's the word I'm looking for? That would be a nice, goal to set. There's only going to be one winner. So how achievable is that? I guess is what I'm looking for.
Yeah, and that's always where, for whatever you do, you have to look at the plausibility of it within the context of the event. Like, in strongman or in jiu-jitsu, we're competing against other people. Nothing is really subjective. You either do the thing and win or you don't. So you have very little control over that. But maybe your SMART goal is completely singular. Maybe your goal is to lose weight or gain weight or hit a certain lift, on a movement or a certain, fitness goal, like running for time or something like that. At that point, you control the outcome a lot more because you're the only variable. Like if I said, well, I want to have a 500-pound bench press, I'm not going to say that's easy to accomplish because it isn't, but it's easy to plan for because all I got to do is plan my workouts.
Exactly.
Gravity's not going to change. So when you're getting to that stage of your SMART goal where you're trying to figure out what's attainable and what isn't, focus on the things that you can control. Don't focus on the exterior at all because you can't. There's nothing you can do. Like I feel like I'm going to be in great shape barring any injury or COVID, knock on wood. But if nothing happens and I train well and stay healthy, I can still show up and get smoked by everybody on the roster because I'm just outclassed, and I won't know until I get there. I have to be okay with that, and that's where a lot of people get messed up. You have to be okay with losing because winning or losing is not something that you can control. You can only just prepare. So that's why when I say that showing up is the victory, showing up is a victory, showing up prepared is a victory, achieving your goals is a victory. Where you place in the competition is second to all that. Because if you only focus on winning, then inevitably when you lose, you're going to be demotivated and you're going to be crushed. Focus on yourself and asking yourself, what can I achieve independent of anything external?
Exactly. And if you do lose, now you know what you need to set those goals for the next tournament. If that makes sense.
Absolutely. And there is no if. We're all going to lose.
Well, yeah, we're all going to lose.
Like, I go back to my very first strongman contest, a moment I'll never forget. West Virginia's strongest man, my favorite place in the world, West by God, Virginia. I went up there, and it's one of those things where I was as prepared as I could be, but once I got there, I realized that I was not nearly as prepared as I thought I was because I have as much time and as scientifically as I explored everything, I didn't exhaust all my resources to train and prepare for the event. I was strong as a bull. I was in great shape. I thought I had a good grasp on the event, but the reality is my mindset was emotional because all I could visualize was being up on the podium holding an award. That was my visualization technique. So when I got to the contest, and I started getting run down and exhausted. My visualization did not help because I realized after 3 events, I'm not going to win this. And then I'm like, okay, I don't have anything, I don't have anything to grasp. I don't have anything to get myself on track. And then once I nearly passed out from exhaustion, I realized that my visualization, it didn't mean crap. It didn't help me. My training was not up to par. And if I had approached that contest as a learning experience instead of something to manifest my ego through, I would have had a better time and I would have learned more. But that's the growth that we can, if you guys take nothing else away from this episode, we're constantly growing, we're constantly learning. You can't assume that you're going to win, and you can't let winning something be your only motivator. I think about some of the greatest athletes of all time, like Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Tom Brady. These guys all, it's easy to focus on the championships, but they've all lost games. They've all lost championships. They've all lost in big moments. and the mark of a real winner is it's cliche, but it's the truth. It's not about winning. It's about persevering through hardship.
Yeah.
And when you're making your goals, you have to think, what am I going to achieve? What's attainable? And that brings us to the R in SMART goal, which is what's relevant or realistic or reasonable. Um, you know, I can say that I want to place in the top 2 in the contest, and that's a good goal to have. That's reasonable, right? But I can do nothing to control that. I can do nothing to make that happen. So maybe my goal should be hitting a certain rep range on every event or a time on every event, because that's something I can manage and it's something I can track, and it's something that's result oriented. So I'll know how I should fare when the competition gets here. Jiu-jitsu might be a little bit different because you can't really compete, against people before you compete against people, but you can at
Well,
least know what works for you and what doesn't.
in a way, you can if you know the people in your group. Which now this is a big tournament, so there's going to be people from out of state.
Oh
But
yeah.
a lot of the smaller local tournaments, it's easy enough to go check them out in an open roll, see what they're good at, what their weaknesses are. So you can kind of have an idea of what you need to work on. Like if I know someone's weak with escaping back chokes, I'm going to go for back chokes on that person. So in a way, yes, yeah, you can kind of set yourself up. But really with jiu-jitsu, just train, and train some more. And then think about it. And then dream about it. And then get back up at 6 a.m. and train some more. If you really want to win.
So with your decision to do this contest, is how is that going to impact your normal training regimen as it is now?
So the biggest thing with my current training regimen is just my personal life schedule. A lot of times, I'm going to be adding at least one gi class. May not
You'll be
every
competing
week.
in a gi, right?
Not necessarily. They have gi
Oh,
and no
okay.
gi options.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm adding at least one gi class. It's probably going to be every other Wednesday, unfortunately, but it's going to be there. It's better than no gi classes. And that's what I did up in New York. So I'm actually catching up with my no gi training because that's not what I'm as used to. Also, we have open rolls on the weekends, so I'm looking at doing at least the one on Sunday more often. I haven't really been doing that as much since the injury, but that's that's an hour, sometimes hour and a half of rolling with multiple people. So that's where you get your practice in. But that's kind of what I'm looking at for my training there. Also keeping up my DDP yoga because that's how I'm avoiding injuries.
Are you going to be adding? Because I know you've been going to the Planet Fitness up there and doing some treadmill work. Are you going to be doing any weight training to go along with this? Are you changing your cardio routine? Anything like that?
Not necessarily. I could probably add some dumbbell stuff in, but I wasn't planning to change up the cardio otherwise. But the
Okay.
DDP yoga gives me a lot of cardio as well. So
Um, when you're doing open rolls, are you able to see if I can word this the right way? When you're doing your open rolls, I know it's kind of just free time. Like, are you able to set any markers for yourself with like your energy level? Like, have you learned like, okay, when I feel this way, then I know I'm at 75%. When I feel this way, I know I'm at 50%. Do you have anything like that does it for you?
in a way, one of the things, if you ever take a jiu-jitsu class, like a full class, not an open roll, and there are a lot of people that just come to open rolls and never come to class, and that's why they suck. But if you ever come to an actual class, the first 15 minutes are very intense warm-ups.
Yeah.
Multiple laps around the floor, uh, various hip escapes across the thing, crab walks, all that kind of fun stuff. So me, being an asthmatic with small lungs, and also slightly overweight, once that first 15 minutes is done, I'm already very tired compared to, going in
Yeah.
fresh. And the thing that's good for me for a tournament for that is when I'm going into a tournament, if it's multiple rounds, I'm going to be tired by the time I'm in second, third, whatever round. And just doing my regular classes, I'm already experiencing,
Yeah.
jujitsu while tired. Now, open roll is basically just roll with each other for hour and a half, however long the coach wants to be there. And that, again, I go in fresh for my first few rolls, which is great. But then after about 30 minutes, especially with the gym with no AC and just two big garage doors and a cross
Nice. That's good training right
yes.
there.
I'm also a sweaty, tired mess after 30 minutes. So that
Yeah.
also helps with the endurance. And for me, that's going to help more than running on a treadmill for 45 minutes.
Oh yeah, and I'm so glad you mentioned that because I wasn't even thinking about that. But you're spot on. Training at a deficit or training at a disadvantage, like um former training partner of mine, um guy named Pete Casa. I don't know. Pete might be watching. If you are, brother, good to see you. Professional wrestler extraordinaire, also licensed massage therapist. Dude is absolutely yoked, and we used to work out together. And one night I remember we were deadlifting, and we had about maybe 6 or 650 on the bar, something like that. You know, a really good weight.
So it was a light night
And
for him.
and and we were lifting, and I remember I was complaining like my stomach was hurting or something like that. And I remember he put his hand on my shoulder, and he was like, "Brother, you're never going to compete under optimal circumstances, so you can't think you got to train under optimal circumstances." And it's like a switch went off in my head. I had never, I mean, it's almost like I knew that, but I had never had someone actually say the words to me before. You know, so when I think about like what is or is not realistic, if you can train in an uncomfortable situation, you know, or you can train at a disadvantage. Like I get it because when I remember I was taking jujitsu, the first 10 or 15 minutes, I'm like, guys, I'm out. Like I'm tired, you know, because being a big guy, no matter what kind of cardio shape you're in, like doing those drills and like shrimping all across the floor in a circle and getting up and running laps and one knee to one knee, that tears you up. So by the time we start rolling, I remember like I'd be like on my knees and like my quads would be burning, and I'm like, if I can wrestle this way, imagine how I would feel if I was refreshed, you know. And though I didn't take jujitsu nearly as far as you have, you know, I applied that same concept to boxing and to pro wrestling. Like you're never going to be at 100% under optimal conditions, you know. So why train that way? And then of course later when I read Bruce Lee's books, that's all he talks about, you know. And in the Tao of Jeet Kune Do, it talks about, you know, like
Fantastic
training
book.
it.
Everyone should read that.
Oh yeah, like training in a dojo with shit on the floor, and you know, training when you're hungry, training when you're thirsty. And I mean, it sounds kind of sadistic, but I'll be honest, man, I employ those tactics now. Like yesterday, it's the weirdest thing. So I yesterday I was just weird with my stomach all week, and I was just like, I'm just gonna go to the gym a little hungry, and whatever happens happens. I don't care. Like I was just completely aggravated with myself, you know. And last night I was deadlifting like 500 and change, and so easy. I did an hour on the treadmill last night, and you know, and it's like I would have in my mind I was like, oh, I'm gonna have a light workout and maybe do 20 minutes on the treadmill, and I wound up doing, you know, about an hour having a heavy deadlift workout, and came home last night, felt great, woke up this morning feeling great, you know. And I don't think that means, well, the secret is to be hungry, but I think it means that sometimes we can rise to the occasion when we exercise our brain, which is our strongest muscle.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe that leads us to T.
T. Yep. So T is going to be a couple different ones. Generally, T is going to stand for the time aspect of your goal. Though in some iterations of the SMART diagram, time the T can also mean trackable. It could mean time slash cost limited, testable, or time sensitive. But ultimately, what's your deadline? And what's your resource availability? And for us, February 19th is launch day, so we got to be ready by then. So
Yep.
that's usually the easy one with whatever goals you're setting. Um, I think the easiest thing to do is really just to get a date in mind and just go for it. You know, if you say, hey, I want to lose 50 pounds, you know, once you go through the list and it's like maybe you determine that you need to take, you know, a year to lose 50 pounds, hold yourself accountable to that year. Write that date on a sheet of paper or put it on a dry erase board or something where you'll see it every day so you can remember this is my deadline, because that'll keep you honest. You know, if you start with, you know, a goal in the future, if you know where it ends, as you get there, as you have planning sessions every week or every 2 weeks or every month, you can start ticking off, what those markers are for success to make sure that you're on track to getting where you want to be. So just because there's a deadline, it doesn't mean that that's a static thing. It means that that's something that holds you accountable. I think, that's how I always look at that. It's something that, it's not just a fixed point in the future. It's something that I'm building toward, because the competition is a celebration. You know, you got to enjoy the process, man. Like, I love to quote Steve McMichael. The destination isn't the reward. The journey is. Like,
Yeah.
February 19th will show up, and I'll be in this weird place with all these strangers, and and I won't have my normal gym buddies there, and I won't have my normal clothes, and I'll have to go lift in front of all these people and feel weird, and I might go bomb. If I don't enjoy, if I'm setting myself up to just enjoy that one day, I'm gambling that 6 months of my life hinge on one day, and that's nonsense. You've got to enjoy the process. You've got to enjoy I'm working toward this date or this goal. If you don't, then there's no point in doing any of it, man, because the process is what matters. The outcome is what it is, but the process is the real goal. That's the real reward.
Exactly. It's all about setting your course, as your shirt says.
So it does. Set your course, baby.
Yep. Well, I think we've definitely smartened them up.
You gonna wrap me up, man? I'm just getting warmed up.
Oh man, well, you got to save it for a little bit.
Oh man, I just I get so excited about everything these days because there's so little to be happy about. But like I'm just so jazzed up for this contest, man. I'm learning a lot about myself as I train, as we all do, because I find when we talk about our circle, I have a few names that come to mind, and usually you're there, and friend of the show Reggie, over at the Willis Show on YouTube, check him out. You two guys are probably the people I have the most communication with. And me and you have always been that way, even when we live different places. And I find that I tell you guys stuff, and I kind of just don't go any further than that. Like, I'll share something, or in our group chat, it's me, you, Reggie, and Dre, a.k.a. DeAndre Jackson, the big herd of pro wrestling. Find him at, Dre's.
He's everywhere. He's on
everywhere.
SoundCloud now,
Because Dre's got Carolina Beats. He's got Regency Apparel. He's got Creations by Dre, which is his art channel on Instagram. He's got his regular Instagram, which is DeAndre Jackson, the big hurt, I think. And then he's got his personal Instagram, which is like S Lynch or whatever. It's like I got like 7 Instagrams, and I don't know if Dre's listening or not.
About the hustle.
Listen, if there's a man after my own heart, it's Dre. I love him to death. He's my brother, and the 4 of us share a lot with each other. And I found that in training for this contest, when I've mentioned it to other people, the level of support that people are willing to give you is insane. But you have to be vulnerable enough to just say, hey, here's what I'm working toward. I just want you to know. And if you open that door, people, anyone watching, wherever you're at in your fitness journey, I think you'll find that people want to support you and people want to cheer you on. You just got to let them know,
Yeah.
You just got to let them know.
Yeah. Most people will support you if you're trying to improve yourself.
Yes, they will. And people like to see winners. But more than seeing a winner, I think people like to see others trying to elevate themselves. So if you got something you're working on, whether it doesn't have to be fitness related, it could be art. You could be trying to move along in your job or build something on your house, whatever. Let people in, and they'll build you up. And that's a lesson that I'm having to learn at nearly 40. Is that it's okay to be around people. They're not going to hurt you. And I've really been floored by the support I've gotten so far. So I'm looking forward to the next couple months of training and, going out and winning that contest.
Cool. Well, February can't get here fast enough. But
it can't,
slow
man.
down.
I'm not going to go quite that far because this year's been long enough. This year's both been long and short. Like
you realize it's like 5 days till September, right?
I know.
We're going to have to wake Green Day up soon.
and dude, I feel like I was just sitting in this exact spot watching the ball drop on New Year's. It's like, it's crazy. So that's why, man, not to be morbid, but you never know when it's going to be your time. You got to max out your minutes, like Jim Ross says. maximize your minutes. Our tomorrows are not guaranteed. So whatever you're working on, just go do it. No BS, no excuses. I don't want to hear any reason not to. I just want you to go do it. Either do it or give up. And you're
That's
not
right.
allowed to give up.
Like our podcast, it won't be perfect, but you can get it there.
There you go.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, anything else? Any other knowledge you want to drop this week?
Now, if you're wrapping me up, you're the boss. I guess I could talk for another hour about this stuff, but I'm feeling good for the first time since 2019, and I'm trying to ride this wave, and I'm trying to bring everybody with me as long as I can, because I think it's an easy time. It's an easy time to be discouraged with things going on, but I think if you can get past the surface layer of what's happening in our country right now, I think you'll find that it's a great time for you to be building yourself up, because there's a lot of opportunities. So if you're feeling down or you're feeling defeated, please take this as your sign from the universe. Just get off your ass and just get to work.
Yeah. Don't worry about what's going on outside. Just worry about yourself.
That's
How
the
you
ticket.
can navigate it. All right, man.
Hell
Well,
yeah.
Hell yeah. The power of positivity.
Absolutely,
and I want
baby.
pancakes. All right, brother. Well, I think that wraps up this week, and I know it's supper time here. Am I supposed to cook tonight? I don't know. We'll find out in a moment.
Might be in trouble.
Oh dear. Well, in that case, we'll see you next time. Hopefully, a little less fat and a little more fit.